to introduce very briefly who our esteemed panelists are. So we have, from left to right, we have Gaston Salinas, who is the CEO and co-founder of Botanical Solutions. Then we have Yannick Werner from Fujifilm Microchemical Europe. He is the EMEA manager of pharmaceuticals and microbiological quality control. Then we have Stefan Schlatter, he is the head of manufacturing science and technology, drug substance biopharmaceuticals for Boehringer Ingelheim. And then we have Christian Houborg, general manager and SVP Fujifilm Biotechnologies Denmark. All right. Thank you very much for joining the panel discussions. And just besides the name and the companies that our esteemed panelists are coming from, we just do very quickly round the table introduction. Well, what is your area of expertise in one sentence?
Gaston Salinas again. We're in the space of vaccine adjuvants, working with a gold standard molecule called QS21. But if you allow me, I would also acknowledge and sort of say thank you to CPHI for recognizing our work last night. I didn't have much time to give a speech because there were so many awardees, but probably this is a perfect occasion just to sort of say thank you to the judges and the panelists.
Yeah, thank you also from my side. It's a great honor for me to be here. My perspective or my main responsibilities within the quality control, but Fujifilm Waco is not only dealing with this, we're providing multiple different laboratory chemicals, reagents, raw materials, and that's our possession.
Hello everyone, Stefan Schlatter. So manufacturing science means that we transfer new commercial products into the plant, do the cleaning and process validation, and also small-scale lab support for transfer and for commercial manufacturing. And that's located in Biberach, where we have a multi-product facility.
Yeah, my name is Christian Houborg, and I'm heading up a large-scale site in Denmark, so a site that will ultimately be 20 case facility, so the largest facility in Europe, basically, in terms of mammalian cell culture manufacturing. But I'm here to represent Fujifilm Biotechnologies and all our different sites and our ecosystems of scales that you can actually work with in terms of going fast to market, but also scaling between what you need. One of our big games is being partners for life and trying to reinvent the CDMO industry to be much more partner focused. But more on that later.
Right, thank you very much. Well, I mean, there's the topic of that panel discussion is redefining biomanufacturing for a faster and sustainable future. Well, first question that I would have is, well, what are the key operational or technological barriers that you're facing in order to achieve both speed, but also continuity and sustainability? So, Stefan, maybe would you like to answer first?
Sure, yeah, pleasure. So we are running a CMO business, so we have a facility which is registered for various products, customers around the world, not just in Biberach, but also in our network. So really crucial for us is that we have a modular plant design with technologies that can accommodate different process formats, molecule formats. And with that, we have no need to implement new technology to bring new products into the plant. And that paired with expertise and track records for successful and fast transfers into the plant to enable our customers to come to the market as fast as possible.
Maybe just can I add to that in terms of flexibility and also having platforms. I think that's extremely important for the entire industry. And what we are trying to do is to kind of have identical plants, both in Europe and in the US. So you can kind of just go into one site, but you get the second supply chain for free. because there's no risk of doing a tech transfer across the Atlantic, because it's the same bioreactors, it's the same equipment, it's the same ways of working. And giving that kind of flexibility and speed to different regions is going to be important. And then there's probably a soft angle to it in terms of thinking people into the equation. I mean, when you choose your partners, it's basically about choosing a team you work with, and the ability to work across organizations will become so much more important in the future. So people first.
Yeah, I would say from the point of view of a smaller organization, I think the first question is how we actually put the customer at the center. And from there, how we're able to sort of tackle those operational issues that may arise. And I think you need to be conscious that you need to sort of start with, from the very beginning, with all those CMC action plans in place, especially if you need to coordinate multiple manufacturing sites, and most of the manufacturing activities will rely on third parties. In the end, those challenges in terms of coordination, I think, are crucial. I would say more from a technological point of view, I think it's not the lack of innovation. It comes down to sometimes sort of the regulatory framework that you need to sort of address, and how you are able to sort of navigate that reality. So that's more or less our experience there.
Yeah, and maybe from the perspective of quality control, that I'd like to add what Christian already talked about, what Fujifilm as our entire big organization is dealing with. So from the QC perspective, our company tries to contribute to how to make it faster by providing good innovations to automated and rapid technologies. This is something that our organization is trying to give to the people to optimize this, because there are a lot of things, especially in the quality control, where the timing in general is a very crucial point, and the key to release the product, to give it to our end customers. And this is something where we see or we can provide some solutions to the whole market to optimize this.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, and I think that's a very good, let's say, leeway to my follow-up question. And also Montserrat talked about that a bit in her presentation, the role of AI and digitalization and so on. I mean, how much does, besides the therapeutical platform that you mentioned, but how much does also that modern digitalization, AI tools, data analytics play a role in order to achieve that sustainability, achieve higher outputs and so on? Maybe Christian, if you would like to answer first.
But the digital integration is extremely important, both if you just look at the sites, how much digital integration you actually need to get the benefits of the digital platforms. But it also becomes very important with the partners, the clients, to have that integration. And luckily, many of you are actually pushing us to be very digital and very kind of almost interconnected in terms of digital platforms. So just take Viva as an example. That's something basically all of you are kind of saying we should go in that direction and make sure that we link the systems with our partners. So, and that creates an openness for collaboration, but also a platform for collaboration that are extremely important in terms of harvesting innovation benefits. So digital is extremely important. You just take a simple example in terms of AI, doing that on a Viva platform, or in terms of utilizing all the knowledge that are in the past deviations, utilizing that knowledge going forward and building even better quality systems. It's a wealth of knowledge, so that's just to be picked up.
Yannick?
Yes, what you brought up, the AI, there not only that Christian mentioned, so based on what we get from customers back to us, is that all of the industry is looking into this kind of new approaches, new technologies. It's definitely a key driver, which we experience and which we also took into account for us in elaborating this for ourselves and providing it back to the market, in providing new approaches link to other clients, link to our suppliers, and this is something that can enhance the whole working together within the market and the entire organization.
Yeah, in our case, AI plays a crucial role, especially in R&D activities at the company. So that allows us to sort of speed up the pace when it comes to validating proof of concepts, especially in a program that we have in California where we're working extensively to improve the quality of our raw materials. So we pretty much embrace tools like AlphaFold and others that allow us to move faster. But yeah, I think this is well embedded into our organization.
Yeah, so digital technologies starting in the beginning for process transfers. For instance, we use computational fluid dynamics to support lab studies and make facility fit decisions. But we're also successful to use this technology to omit lab studies by performing, for instance, intermediate hold time studies just in CFD and have got that accepted by regulators. And to the point you made before, so that the plants, the technology is consistent across the globe. Yeah. Same is really important for IT, and that all data gathered from quality, from analytics, from process are fed into a central data hub that can then be, if possible, real-time shared with our customers to really be at the pulse of the process in real time.
As one of the topics that we have in the title of that panel discussion is also sustainability. And that could mean a lot of different things, right? So, I mean, what does it mean for you and your organization when we are talking about sustainability in biopharmaceutical manufacturing and supply chain? I mean, supplying at the end of the day products to our patients. I mean, what does sustainability, when we are talking about sustainability, I mean, what triggers that with you? So maybe Gaston,
I happy to take the lead. We believe that sustainability is at the core of all what we do in terms of products and making, I would say, this type of vaccine adjuvants more sustainable. So basically, I think from an environmental point of view and looking at, I would say, climate change, I think this is just not an option not to really try to change the game in that direction. All what we do internally is basically try to walk away from traditional sources of raw materials. So basically we grow all, I would say, those raw materials internally in the company, and then we sort of further purify those materials that will go eventually into a vaccine or commercial vaccine product. But I would say that's sort of the starting point. We're all coming, I would say, from a global pandemic, looking at, I would say, geopolitical independence, how we really make sure to make those compounds or materials available, across the world, how you actually tackle issues of scale, cost, when you need to move from grams to tons or, hundreds of kilograms of materials. And then I think it's great to work with these kind of solutions targeting high-income countries, but how about low-income countries, right? How you make those tools available for underprivileged regions. And it comes then all down to cost structure, and in the end, how you also generate credibility around your strategy, making materials under GMP available for customers. So I think this question of sustainability, it may be approached from different angles, but in the end, I think that's how we embrace sustainability at the company.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the life after the pandemic and so on, and where we actually experience a little bit, well, we need to make our entire supply chain a little bit more resilient. I mean, that was triggering for me a little bit also when we're talking about sustainability. I mean, how do we sustain that we can deliver, that we can produce actually? Is that also something that relates to you at Boehringer or at Fuji?
Well, definitely. Our whole supply chain is basically designed to support the geopolitical situation we're in. So we need strong sites in Europe, and we need strong sites in the US in order to balance the situation or the geopolitical shit show or whatever we call it. I'm probably not allowed to say that, basically. But still, it means that the whole industry is under pressure. So we need to design our supply chains to do that, ideally to meet the future and whatever will happen. So that's of course a part of sustainability, but also for me, when we say sustainability, it's all about making the sites as green as possible.
Yes.
And I think you as innovators should put it on the CDMO industry to become green as fast as possible. I mean, we supply medicines to patients, and we need to make that in a way so it's not on account of nature. So we're pushing to get all our sites green before 2040. 100% neutral. Some of the sites will actually be green in the early 30s. So there's different angles on sustainability. It's also about scaling, choosing the right scales. I mean, there's no stronger force than the economy of scale. So the more you can kind of fit the right scale into the lifetime of the product, the less impact you will have on environment.
Totally agree on this, and I'd like to add that from our perspective, and I have to come back to the quality control once again, because, and you said the lifetime of a product, and the lifetime of a product is something that we are also focusing, because we have to deliver a lot of our products, more and more new technologies in kind of cell and gene media field, for example, not only media, also some of the therapies which are there. So the lifetime of the product itself is very short. So our focus on providing rapid technologies to be able to provide this part of sustainability, that we can guarantee the quality of these products, which has to come to the patient as soon as possible in a rapid way. So this is also our contribution to sustainability, because of course, otherwise, if we cannot get these information as soon as possible, this is something that will be delay in this kind of products. Maybe it will be very difficult for some of those which have very short shelf lives. So this is something where we're also trying to support, also within our entire organization, to support from our innovation perspective to our brothers and sisters in the CDMO world, to support it and to make this delivery to the patient in time with a good sustainable approach.
Yeah, so for us, it's also end-to-end sustainability. So starting with raw materials, in the pandemic, we have had huge storage, huge stocks, but it's also dual sourcing. We have different manufacturing sites, so we can also help out each other, because we have raw materials at each site. And when we then go into the process, so we have a harvest in our plant every third day, but it takes more a month to get to that stage. So if anything happens in between, we use an entire batch, and therefore we have backup strategies for each critical process steps, just to ensure that we get to that harvest step and do not lose a batch. And then maybe something special, you talked about green for German regulations. So we use around about 400 cubic meters of purified water per day, and we have our own wastewater treatment plant to deal with that in order to purify the water and bring it back. And not just to waste it.
All right. Good.
Can I just comment?
Sure.
Take it to the next level, maybe, because our organizations are actually exchanging knowledge once in a while to make sure that we become more competitive. Because our biggest competitors are not each other. It's actually the innovators that still decide to go out there and fund their own big plants, even though we're probably, as a CDMO industry, better at running them, and we can build them faster and cheaper. So the more we can actually collaborate and become an ecosystem in the CDMO space, the more business we'll have in the future. So we need to also break down the innovation barriers between CDMO companies over time. No, just a different view.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I understand fully the competitiveness that you're in, but also there's another relationship between you and your customers, your sponsors, right? And how has that, let's say, evolved in the last couple of years in regards of sustainability, in regards of ability to deliver? And I mean, how do you see that also developing in the next, 3 to 6, 7, 8 years? I mean, are there any mega trends that you see on the horizon there? Maybe Yannick?
So I always have to come back to the quality control perspective, and here the mega trends which we see, there will be some regulational changes as well. So this is something which we also have to take into account from the perspective of quality control. So we see there's some mega trends in automation in general. So this is one of the trends which is also related to other parts of providing this, or of production in general. And so automation is a key. This is also where we trying to be prepared. We started this also some time ago, so that we are already in exchange with our customers and our partners to support this, and we not only by providing automation in general, but by support on improve existing technologies and optimize existing workflows, because this is something that's very important in the near future, so that the existing gold standards, some will change based on some sustainable reason parts. So in quality control, another very obvious factor to come back to the sustainability because it's very linked in this regard. So there's still some animal-based reagents which are there. So there's a big trend in changing this. So and to change not only the raw material, but also to have the automated approach in the same time. This is what we see from the quality control perspective, and all the changes in the regulation that will support this change. And this is what I can contribute here. But I think, Christian, for example, maybe within our organization from the CDMO perspective, it's more like you have a better overview on this.
Yeah, my angle on it is basically that we are seeing a lot of more push for innovation from our partners now. And that's a very positive thing. Also in terms of the green agenda, I mean, everyone we sit down with are giving us that push. And then it's nice to show that we can say the batch impact on environment will go down with 80% over the next 5 years. So, and the partners are recognizing that kind of transition. But I also will encourage the partners to continue to push in that direction. So the whole industry is becoming more and more green. And I also think there's a shift in terms of getting access to innovation. It's something that the partners are thinking about now, where if you go 5 years back, the CDMO industry was more kind of just a cost flexibility game. Now it's also a game of getting access to knowledge and innovation, basically.
I mean, is it something that, what I understand is that when we're talking about innovation, it is becoming more a partnership than it was in the past between sponsors and CDMOs. Is that something that you will also see as a trend there?
Yeah, maybe just to the point you made before, I see it more as a partnership, because if you have a molecule on the market, just for saying sustainability reasons, it makes sense to manufacture that at different sites, and we can offer that service either at one plant or at several plants. And together with our customers, we talk about co-creation. So we can also implement and create new technology. And maybe one sentence soon, megatrend. I think the more we will drive more into using more and more development data and more analytical data that we get early on, rather than measuring our analytics at the end of the process.
Yeah.
So I think that becomes more and more online, and I think we can also use more and more data to support our wet lab data that we have, that we create in silico, and also use more of that data for submission in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I see the same. So the final quality control is something that we will never get rid of, but the approach in the future will be to reduce it as good as possible by observing the whole process and predict some of the issues before. I can absolutely confirm this. Yeah.
Yeah, which of the mega trends are the ones that you would say are relevant for your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to speak from experience, not from a historical point of view in terms of collaborations with CMOs, but for a company like BSI, it's all about credibility, just sort of having a path to the market and generate credibility in front of customers and users. But at the same time, Especially if you have limited resources, it gives you more flexibility to sort of plan, I would say, how you allocate your CapEx, your OpEx, and put you in a better place in order to sort of make progress with your plan. And I think that additional level of flexibility, especially for companies that are venture-backed, that are always chasing sort of that very next milestone, while also sort of running against the clock, I think those collaborations are really fundamental. And to your point, I think, at least in our experience, is less and less a transactional relationship. It's more like in a strategic collaboration, because you really need to sort of show line of sight to your partners where the business is headed, because you need some level of commitment from the CMO to somehow reserve some manufacturing capabilities that you need them to be available if you hit those critical milestones. So we're really sold into this model, and has been really beneficial for BSI to get to where we are right now.
I mean, you mentioned you overcome that transactional model. That's what I understood a bit. Yeah. So I mean, how important is that real-time data and information exchange between CDMOs and their sponsors, their customers? I mean, and what are the digital platforms, and what is actually, if you need to rank that in regards of real-time visibility, I mean, what is more important in regards of real-time visibility than other things? And how do you actually facilitate that in regards of sharing platforms or whatever there's in place?
Just a comment to that in terms of the digital platforms, and that they are coming, they're already there, and we probably all have them. But with the digital transparency, there's actually a cultural revolution just connected to that, because how do you actually do that if you want to be in control of everything? Because your customers and partners can look directly into the bioreactors. They're doing that right now in my 12 bioreactors as we speak. So they will potentially know things before the site will know it. So that's kind of the level of transparency you're going into. So there's also a people and culture revolution that needs to go into that, because all of a sudden it's about enabling two teams to deliver together. It's not about we're fully in control of what we do on sites. In case we have a deviation, we'll tell you 2 weeks down the road. No, they know instantly. And if you're also connected on the quality systems part, then everything is out there all the time. So there's and that's probably talking into another giga trend that might not be that clear yet, but it needs to come. We need to talk much more about people first and making humanocracies instead of systems and machines or kind of organizations. Then we need to make organizations and teams across organizations that are fit for humans and fit for purpose, and not just fit for delivering a certain kind of outcome, because the whole world is changing and we need to make it more about people than technology, because the technology will be out there instantly very, very soon. Just a different view on a giga trend and what transparency actually means for organizations, because all of a sudden you can't do it like you used to do. So how do we reinvent ourselves in that process?
Who is the driver? I mean, are CDMOs sitting in the driver's seats, or are your customers sitting in the driver's seats?
I would say both, right? So, but I can echo the cultural change coming from having time to interpret the data and having time to prepare an answer, to seeing it as real time together with the customers. It's totally different. But that helped a lot in order to the discussion, and also during critical times when it's really time crucial. So during transfers and PPQ campaigns, we cannot make much faster decisions together with our customers, whereas before we interpreted the data, sent them to the customer, and then it was too late. So that's changing, and it's changing really fast. And also AI will be a big part of it, and I think we all will need to adapt to that new world.
Yeah, probably I would like to reiterate on the importance of building upon sort of shared strategic views on different businesses. And probably sometimes is preferable to start, I would say, smaller, set realistic expectation and take it from there, apart from maybe trying to aim, to a too high target and then end up sort of under delivering on those promises. That only creates frustration. But I think the more and more this sort of natural flow of information between CDMOs or CMOs and customers, I think is crucial to look at successful partnerships.
I mean, Christian, you mentioned, I think, one very important point, that this is people first. I mean, in all of these conferences, there's always a lot of discussions about latest technology, what are the technology trends in the next, 10 years, and so on and so forth. But I'm also missing sometimes that I think we're not spending much time rather well. How do we prepare ourselves as an organization, but also how do we prepare ourselves as in regards of what skills are needed in the future in order to operate a fully digital plant, or not only just a plant, but also a fully digital ecosystem where we have the entire supply. So, I mean, can you elaborate a little bit? How do you facilitate that within the organization, but also within that relationship with your customers as a cross-collaborational effort in regards of skilling up the workforce, making them ready for the year, 2030 or whatever?
Gaston, yeah, probably for a similar organization like BSI is much easier, but I think it's pretty crucial, and again, it comes from past learning, that you need to have those OKRs in place, OKRs that are going to be somehow affecting different business units inside of the organization, and we want to help you to get to that next step. But also, you mentioned cultural change. Probably if I'm sort of calibrated with the numbers, these days I spend 50% or more of my own time sort of being the main sort of evangelist inside of the organization, trying to promote cultural change and how we embrace change, how we sort of lead towards an organization that is going to be more flexible internally, but also externally, the way how we engage with our customers or your partners, so on and so forth. For us, I think it's important sometimes to realize that you don't know what you don't know. And I think that's sort of the starting point to start sort of looking for additional expertise that might be available somewhere else. But at least that has been our take on that talent.
Derek, how is it your organization?
Yeah, I think both, and no matter the size of the organization, so even if it's a huge organization or a small one, very important is to be willing to break the walls, to get out of the thinking of silos, because this is a big issue in most of the organizations I've ever seen, that this silo thinking is blocking and hindering to get the minded discussion within the organization or with partners, and to enhance the partnerships, to strengthen the collaboration, to get better understanding about the perspective also from another angle within whatever. It's important to get this understanding and to improve any situation. That's a key what we see, and this is what we are also trying to do within our organization. And that was your initial question. So Fujifilm, in all the life science sister companies which we have, are trying to break those silos, not only within their facility but also within the entire organization, and to get to the next level there, because this is the key there from our perspective. I think you can agree on this, right?
Yeah, I mean, value is made across organizations, so breaking down those barriers. We come from Fujifilm, and you know us from the cameras and all of that, but we actually have 55,000 different patents out in Tokyo, and we can start to leverage that knowledge pool out there and bring some of it into the pharma space and that innovation capability. So, but of course that takes a lot of effort in terms of working across different cultures and different teams, but also in terms of the partners. Imagine that the sites that I'm heading in Denmark, we have by 2030 we'll have 25 big partners. Imagine if we have a culture where we have an openness to use those partners to transform us forward. Then there's no reason why we can't become better than any one of the partners we're working with. But if we had a closed culture where we wasn't that receptive of improvement and learnings, then we would kind of just be average of the 25. So it's all about watching a CDMO site as your site, a place where you can come interact with our people that are your people, basically help us move forward, and we will help you move forward. So we need to think of organizations as non-existing, basically, and then more of a brain kind of thing that needs to work together to leverage the best possible things. And it's probably one of the things where nations outside of Europe and US are very, very good at collaborating across and creating ecosystems. And I think we need to go more and more in that direction in the biotech industry to make sure we harvest innovation for the benefit of patients and not just for the benefit of one organization.
Stefan? So bringing the right skills in a team approach together, not hierarchical, is really, really important. But I would like to bring another angle into the discussion. So experienced staff is our biggest asset, and we have to do something for that. And BI has been known for its staff staying very long time within the company. And that's because we have our social benefits and a great working atmosphere. But then on the other hand, the working is changing, so employability is a big topic. So we need to cross-skill our staff, enable it to work in different areas to keep them employed over time. And so that's we had AAI before. So I think for all of us, we need to learn something new, and we didn't use that in the past. So that's really important to stay in business and to have staff that can do the job in the future.
I think that's a little bit of the challenge that we are all facing. On one hand, we need to have these people with all the digital skills. We would like to have them immediately. We need to educate them. But on the other side, I mean, you mentioned that experienced operators and so on. I mean, we need to have that process knowledge still in our manufacturing, in our supply chain, and that's the balance that at the end of the day we need to achieve in one way or the other, right? If you could draw a little bit, let's say, the picture of the industry, let's say for the year 2030. I mean, what principles would guide you as an organization, or if you think a little bit wider, also, I mean, what principles would guide you, or what would you envision for the year 2030, where we as an industry, biopharmaceutical manufacturer, should be? What is the technology that you could envision? What is the collaboration models that we are envision? Maybe
me? Yeah, I like to start. Thank you.
You're nodding so heavily.
No worries. Yeah, from the perspective of 2030, I think it's bringing all the different points that we talked about today, bring them together, try to optimize the existing models which we have, the break the workflows which we have, and be able to give the or to improve the transparency level. I think this is also something not only within one organization. It is something that we need to break to the whole kind of biotech market. And in addition, also this continue to put the focus and the requirement of the patient in the focus, because this is the key driver for all, no matter from which angle of the biotech we are. So patient focus is always there for all of us. So, and as long as we have this and take all the tools which we will get and that we talked about, and trying to improve our environments by that time, I think this shall be the goal for all of us. And I think that's my first opening point. Please continue.
So I would say technology-wise, we have to get ready for flexibility in scale, depending on indication, molecule formats. So we will have different platforms, or each new product is a new platform. I don't know. So that will be a real challenge. And then we have different fast track designations. So we will have to be flexible where we can accelerate depending on the needs, and really have to be innovative for that, with all the tools that we have discussed before.
So,
Yeah, I would love to tackle the question from the perspective of partnerships. I think we have covered extensively the value that CMOs and CMOs bring to the table. In our case, as important are those commercial partnerships that you put in place. And I know that I have a good fellows from Croa Pharma attending today this session. And if we do everything according to plan, I think this will also give us an opportunity to allocate the capex looking towards 2030. If we sort of do the job to generate enough demand on our products. So I think it's how you navigate that transition from moving some early stage projects, but getting to a point where you really need to put enough resources to run your own biomanufacturing site. And for us, it's all about putting together the right partnerships and sort of having that shared vision on the future. So, and that's sort of our aim.
Christian?
I want to mention fully digitalized plants, but also fully digitalized partnership networks. And then I'm hoping with that transition, we can go away from talking about technology and then more talking about how do we enable people to succeed across organizations. It's too much, let's have some AI, or technology focused right now. I would love it to be more kind of humanocracy focused. So how do we succeed together?
Okay, I mean, there's one aspect that we have not touched so much right now, and also, I mean, what do you expect also from a regulatory side of things? I mean, are there any specific, let's say, wishes, expectations that you have in regards of the regulatory framework that we are operating in? Because I mean, we mentioned we have a changing world, we have novel therapies, we have novel production modalities, we have AI and digitalization. We need, let's say, skill up our workforce. So what are the expectations in regards of the regulatory framework that we are operating in?
Well, happy to go first. That's a very difficult and tricky question, right? We were covering at the beginning of the session. So we're coming from a global pandemic, and it was shown, when you bring together, all the people in science and the right companies, you can sort of go through this accelerated cycle for developing life-saving therapies or vaccines in that case. A few years later, it seems that the political narrative and the public scrutiny is somehow getting us sort of give another thought on how we should envision the future. I think all what we're part, at least in the vaccine industry, are looking more in the long term, and we need to sort of learn how to navigate those more challenging or stringent regulations. But there is no doubt that vaccines especially are sort of the most life-saving therapies and products out there and in the history of humanity. So, yeah.
I have a perspective on it that I think many of the CDMOs, or at least we will be able to take a product from one site to a different location, different country, and do that based on the CP30 because the sites are identical. So that will be a loosen up the regulatory burden for our partners. And then I have some concerns in terms of the regulatory environment in general, how it will actually develop. It can go south, and it can also be some positive trends in it. What we're seeing right now is just uncertainties, I would say. Hopefully we kind of get out of that and into a more stable kind of regulatory environment, and also with some more flexibility that are technology enabled. But it can go both ways.
Yeah, from the back to the quality control perspective, I already made this point in one of the earlier questions which we had. So we see that there are changes in the regulatory aspects there. However, what we as a wish is that also this open-mindedness and to have the transparency and the better exchange with the regulatories is in this matter also very important because that some of the technologies, so in the end, there is innovation and there is new technology available already, but from a regulatory perspective, for in many cases, the struggle to implement it is sometimes based on some of the requirements relatively high, and this is something that we hope maybe with the focus of 2030 and or from now on in the next years that this will that the regulatories also support our whole partnership within everything that's from the perspective of the patient in the end. It shall be as smooth as possible, as good as possible, as fast as possible. And I think that's one thing where regulatories can also support our perspective.
We can only encourage EU to get their act together and start leading this instead of being reactive. Yeah.
Stefan?
Just to echo what my colleague said, I think we have an opportunity not just to get regulated, but to shape the regulations together with the regulators. So we have almost inspections every day from the different countries and companies and regulators. And I think and I hope that we will be able to work more with in silico data, get faster, work more with comparabilities, in order to get faster and reduce the workload. That would be my wish.
All right. Thank you very much so far. Maybe before we're closing the panel discussion, are there any questions from the audience to our panelists? There's a microphone coming.
Hello, thanks for your presentation. And you were mentioning that your products are greener and greener. I was wondering how to measure that your product is very much greener than it used to be, and what is your trend to reduce the impact of your drugs?
Yeah, I was just referring to when we look at CO2 emissions per batch, we can actually see that will go down with 80% or 70 to 80% by 2030 compared to 2019. So a big jump, and some of this is driven of the green technologies we are adding to the sites. So we just made a power purchasing agreement announcement last week. So now the plant is actually running on green electricity, 100% green electricity. We have heat pumps coming into the system, so we're utilizing our excess heat to heat up the facility. All of these things, and several others, by the way, are adding up to that equation. And then ultimately, we're taking a step with our gas boilers in the early 30s or mid 30s, where we're hopefully transitioning them into high temperature heat pumps or other technologies that are also 100% green. And that will then enable us to actually go to 100% reduction of emissions for the Danish side at least, and similar activities on other sites. Thank you for the question.
There's another question here.
I like the idea of putting people in the focus. And another question is, how are you doing this?
It's that's tough. It requires a lot of effort, and one of the things we have done is developed 9 people fundamentals. So we kind of have a framework of discussing the culture we want to have. Another thing I can share with you is that we're taking away the performance management system. Some of you might know performance management in a traditional way, where you score your employees on a scale from 1 to 6 every 6 months. And by that, you're putting people into boxes. And we simply don't feel that's a system that are adding to collaboration and teamwork, because you basically piss off 80% of the organization every 6 months instead of kind of cheering the teams for being amazing together. So,
does anybody, Stefan or Gaston, Yannick, would like to add something to
I think
how you prepare both of
approach,
the same burning? All right. Any other question? Okay. Then I would like to thank our esteemed panelists for the interesting discussions and the insights, and give a warm round of applause for them.
Thank you. Thank you.